The recent state banquet at Buckingham Palace celebrating the state visit of the President of South Korea was a majestic affair, filled with all the pomp and circumstance one would expect from a formal event hosted by the British monarch. As a veteran royal correspondent who was fortunate enough to get a special behind-the-scenes glimpse at the preparations for this lavish dinner, I can attest that no expense or effort was spared by King Charles II and his staff to impress and dazzle their esteemed guests. In the days and hours leading up to the banquet, the historic palace was a hive of activity, with numerous staff members busily attending to myriad crucial details, from the intricate arrangements of seasonal flowers and ferns to the careful placement of cutlery, china and glassware at the elegant U-shaped table in the ballroom. The cascading floral arrangements combine more traditional blooms taken from the royal glasshouses at Windsor Castle with sustainable ferns that will be replanted and reused, nodding to the king's well-known environmental advocacy. The iconic EIR cipher was quietly scrubbed off many pieces of crystal and fine china in the royal collection, replaced with the new monarch's EIR initials. However, some Elizabethan-era items still bore the late Queen's mark, interspersed among the updated place settings in an interesting juxtaposition of old and new. In the bustling kitchens, executive chefs and their teams cooked up a feast truly fit for a king and an important international ally. The menu featured elegantly plated dishes like tartlet of poached egg and spinach puree, breast of Windsor pheasant, and an array of artful petit fours for dessert, including hand-painted sugar flowers modeled after the national blossom of South Korea, the Hibiscus syriacus. No detail was overlooked in the quest to highlight products and culture from the visiting president's homeland as a gesture of warmth and respect. As the start of the state banquet neared, liveried footmen and other household staff, some still adjusting neckties and cuffs, ensured the exquisite grand service of silver gilt plates and cutlery, commissioned by George IV in 1811 at a cost equivalent to £60,000 today, was perfectly laid out on the shimmering table. This priceless trove includes 4,000 pieces, 14 tureens, 288 dinner plates wrought in silver and layered in gold, 118 etched salt cellars, 12 gleaming ice pails to chill champagne and wine, 12 ornate mirrored plateaux for serving an array of delicacies, 58 stands for elaborate desserts, and 107 glittering candelabras illuminating the opulent scene. Overseeing it all is the yeoman of the plate pantry, guardian of this treasure that has been used to host royalty and world leaders for the past 200 years inside these historic walls. When the 171 distinguished guests filed into the ballroom, they were met with a dazzling sight. Resplendent floral arrangements in shades of autumn, delicate place settings bearing the new king's cipher glinting below the sparkling chandeliers. Course after course of skillfully prepared fare served on heirloom platters and plates, once used by long-past kings and queens, who walked these very same floors. It was a feast for all the senses, beautiful music mingling with savory and sweet aromas, uncommon elegance meeting warm hospitality. This lavish display of British soft power and pageantry clearly had its intended effect on the honored visitor from South Korea. In his toast to King Charles praising the renewed vigor of his reign, President Yoon Suk-yeol enthused about the splendid leadership on display and the kind preparations and warmth of his welcome to the United Kingdom. He concluded by calling His Majesty a fair friend and affirming that to him, you can never be old, perhaps a poetic reference to the ancient pedigree and traditions underpinning this modern monarchy. Also basking in the glow of diplomatic success was Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, set to sign an important new partnership with South Korea this week. He looked extraordinarily pleased at this impressive display of British pomp and hospitality, paving the way for bilateral camaraderie and cooperation. In today's world of lightning-fast change, where long-standing institutions often struggle to remain relevant, it was profoundly moving to see the monarchy smoothly blending treasured history with modern priorities like sustainability. In opening the doors of the sovereign's official residence to charm a world leader, King Charles leveraged the unique magic of Buckingham Palace to bolster vital international alliances. The elegant threads of continuity in the reception held in the ballroom, from the exquisite meal to the priceless silver gilt grand service, reminded us that some things wonderfully resist the winds of change. The love of beauty, pageant, and hospitality, etched into these walls over centuries, past maintain their formidable power to unite across borders in the present day. The recent state banquet held at Buckingham Palace to welcome the President of South Korea and the First Lady was a grand affair filled with luxury, etiquette, culture, and of course, lots of food. The palace staff had spent days preparing the staterooms, ensuring every minute detail was perfect. The dining table in the ballroom was set with over 160 place settings, each meticulously arranged with multiple pieces of cutlery, glasses, linens, and tableware per person. In total, more than 2,000 individual pieces of cutlery and tableware were required for the single meal. The items were drawn from the Grand Service collection owned by the royal family, which includes unusual utensils like specialized servers and spoons designed for specific foods. Each place setting featured a folded napkin in a traditional Dutch bonnet shape, accompanied by a mind-boggling array of plates, knives, forks, spoons, a butter knife, and no less than 6 glasses apiece for champagne, water, wine, dessert course, and port. The place settings were also supplemented with individual croutes and condiment holders shaped like seashells, designed in a nautical theme and supported by miniature tridents, and costing almost £1,000 each. Other one-of-a-kind salt shakers were designed as bowls with decorative Egyptian masks and lion paw feet. The long table practically groaned under the weight of precious silver and golden candelabras 6 feet tall, intricately cast as apple trees wrapped by serpents and allegorical daughters of Greek deities in flowing gowns playing harps and lutes. Befitting the new reign of King Charles, the usual excessive floral arrangements from royal greenhouses were replaced by sustainable, locally grown blooms to be donated after use to the Queen Consort's charities aiding vulnerable people in London. Though still visually resplendent, the flowers aligned with Camilla's long-standing patronages in environmental causes dear to Charles. Among the ornate china services dating back centuries and commissioned by former monarchs on display was Queen Victoria's turquoise hand-painted Minton, set from 1877, King George Ivy's opulent Rockingham dessert service deemed the most lavish ever produced by an English company, and William Ivy's Tournay china from 1830. Small bowls brimming with ripe fresh figs and tiny vials of estate-grown olive oil adorned the head table where the royals and high-ranking guests, like the presidential couple, would sit. Discreet heaters were strategically positioned out of sight behind the king and queen, in case the winter chill proved too drafty in the cavernous staterooms. As expected, the seating chart was meticulously devised to stimulate intriguing dinner conversations by pairing politicians with celebrities and foreign dignitaries with British officials. President Yoon found himself alongside the heir to the throne, Prince William, while his wife was flanked by the leading Korean pop stars BLACKPINK in what must have been a surreal contrast of roles. In keeping with tradition, King Charles II commenced formal toasts and gave the first speech weaving in lighthearted references to Korean culture like Gangnam Style that surprised the K-pop singers and drew amused chuckles from the assembly. Despite the lofty company and awe-inspiring surroundings, guests apparently felt comfortable enough to relax and relish the multi-course feast. The evening concluded relatively early, around 10 p.m. compared to expectations, when attendees were invited to mingle while an ensemble of the renowned Philharmonia Orchestra performed a brief program of English and Korean works. According to a frequent guest, however, apparently the extensive cutlery can prove confusing, and as soon as the royals finish eating, service tends to swiftly clear all plates whether finished or not. Nevertheless, the state banquets managed to combine electric excitement, local sustainable ingredients, visually jaw-dropping presentations, and extraordinary attention to details for a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Dear friend, if you like everything new about the royal family and don't want to miss all the novelties, subscribe to our channel and like it. By doing so, you take part in our development. We work for you.